Oh, yeah.
We got minutes.
Justin Matthews said that I was tired of doing some English sweatshirt or t-shirt.
This is dream.
What size?
Yes.
Oof, pants
I know.
What else can you do? Go to work every day. Go to work every day.
Don't give me a free pass for free day.
If you're going that, yeah.
Oh, I've been flashed before the circus off down there. Or they'll come up.
Well, you got all, you got Sean, Mo, Trevor.
Or they come up and wave and then take off.
Yeah.
I've only met man on the road.
Yeah, they can't do anything now either, and Matthew had.
I met Matt one day, and all of a sudden we were behind, I don't know where he came from, coming down behind me, pulled up alongside me, waved, and he's gone.
Okay.
Are we good to go? What's not 7 yet?
2 minutes.
Anybody show up?
Yeah, they had,
Next time.
what do you call it?
You called it, didn't you?
Antifa? Guys, how do you say it?
I always thought it was Antifa, or anti-fa. I've heard it pronounced.
We had 2 guys from Ohio that came and stole a brand new pickup from a car dealership. He was in a high-speed chase with them, and he called other departments, and nobody would come back and out the other one. Because they had been told to stay in there.
That's so fun.
I
Is y'all
just-
locked up, or
Well, we're all gonna be.
you can't recommend it, shoot him. Shoot him in the leg, anyway. It's all government crap, political. I don't think George Floyd is even dead. Watch the news, I don't think he is. And why was his casket closed?
He had a gold casket, did you see that?
And it was closed.
And it was gold. I was like, who paid for that?
Floyd Mayweather.
Minneapolis.
Oh, Mayweather paid for it?
Yeah.
Oh, that's. Gotta get money to throw around like that.
He probably wasn't even there. Like I said, he's still alive.
Do you just want to do a little bit of an explanation when Tracy pulls it right?
Sure.
Okay.
Okay, we're gonna call the Montrose Planning and Zoning Commission meeting on Wednesday, June 10th to order. Roll call.
Like Council Liaison.
Tracy Gurno.
Sylvia Henry.
Deb Belter.
Brian Griffin.
Sean Goff. Justin Emery.
We will now stand for Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Before calling for a motion for approval of agenda, we will be removing one item off the agenda under old business, Renewable Properties Limited Liability Solar Farm Lease. We'll be taking that off the agenda.
Yeah, unfortunately, there's not enough space out at the wastewater treatment plant to do a solar farm out there. There's the existing empty land that's out there is earmarked as future right-of-way and also future expansion for the wastewater treatment plant. And when it all boils down, there's only a couple acres of land out there that the solar farm could go on, and they need at least 4 acres in order for it to be viable. So this project is not happening.
Thank you. So with that, can I call for a motion for approval of agenda with that removal?
I make a motion to approve the agenda with the old business removal of the solar system farm.
I'll second.
Motion is on the floor and seconded for approval of agenda. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Approval of minutes from March 11th, 2020, Planning and Zoning Commission meeting. Any changes or corrections to the minutes, Deb? Do you have any changes? Okay. With no changes or corrections, I will call for a motion for approval of the minutes.
I make a motion to approve the minutes of March 11th, 2020.
I'll second.
Okay. Motion has been made and seconded for approval of minutes from the March 11th, 2020, Planning and Zoning Commission. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Any old business? With no old business on the agenda, now we'll move on to new business, food truck regulations and ordinance.
I just want to start by telling you that I had Brian check into this because we have been having food trucks come to town. And we have had a couple issues come up and we have had no way to regulate them because we have nothing in the ordinance. So Ryan was kind enough to quickly put something together for tonight's meeting.
The only question that I have, is that going to interfere with anybody like the Boy Scouts and the Lions and that want to raise money? They're going to have a food truck alongside the hamburger stand or?
No, we'll talk about that kind of stuff as we get into
Well, I
it.
mean, we got to pick dates, because you don't want them to be competition for the fire department and all them. The Boy Scouts, they rely on that money, the fire department needs that. The Lions, they need it. And we're gonna have another food truck to compete with them. Gotta be drawn away from them, I think.
Or is this the food trucks? Or is this the food trucks that come like to Splash for Montrose?
I have some notes on that to talk about that.
Oh, okay.
I think this is in regulating specifically the food truck, I think that goes to Old Brothers, and the one that was up at Veterans Park, I think is what the,
Well, we have
Behind
requests, we have requests for other ones to come in.
but that's the type of food
Yeah,
truck we're talking.
yeah.
We're not talking like any of our in-city ones, we're talking the ones that are coming from outside of our city that want to come in to
Right.
sell food here.
Well,
That's
that's
exactly
why
it.
I just raised the question that if it would be a good idea, because, the community here is not that big anyway. And, the fire department and those departments, they rely a lot on that.
I'm gonna
I
turn
hate
over.
to have them see competition,
What were the issues that came up? Do we know?
Well, Ryan's gonna just kind of give us an overview first, and then we can have a discussion.
Okay, thank you. So I put together a draft ordinance that will regulate mobile food units is the term that the state uses for these. And this will regulate mobile food units underneath the transient merchant ordinance, the existing transient merchant ordinance that the city has already. And this would add a definition of mobile food unit, as well as add regulations for those that are specific to mobile food units. So a mobile food unit would be subject to the regulations of transient merchant, and then also a second set of regulations that are specific to mobile food units. You can find those on page 32 in your packet, which just further regulates them. And basically, the issue is that do mobile food units, are they interfering with brick and mortar businesses that either pay rent or pay taxes? And is that a fair business model? And do we want to regulate that? So the draft ordinance would propose that these mobile food units are limited in the amount of time that they can operate, and have to keep a distance away from our existing brick and mortar businesses. That's kind of the two real main focus of this draft that I put together.
Can I just interrupt real quick, Ryan? And that, Sean, is exactly what we were having problems with. There was the one parking across from Jackie B's, and Jackie B's was very concerned about that. And we also have a ice cream truck that wants to come into town and also park across from Jackie B's. And we want to try to regulate that so that they can't do that.
So the draft ordinance states that you have to be, that the mobile food unit would have to be at least 200 feet away from a brick and mortar restaurant or cafe or, you know, any type of food establishment like that.
Well, it had to be more than 200 feet.
Yeah, and you know,
Where Mario's is set up is part of that 200 feet from Jackie's.
Yeah,
And when I first saw it, I thought that was wrong, that they said.
yeah.
But see, I couldn't do anything.
No,
I
like,
just did it.
yeah, you give them a permit to be in town and whatever, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, the point of the meeting tonight, I should add too, is to discuss, you know, how we want to approach this and what we want to do going forward. So that this is not a public hearing tonight, we didn't have enough time to publish for a public hearing. So this is just a casual discussion tonight, and any changes that we want to see, you know, I can make those and we can come back next month for a formal hearing on it. So yeah, if we want to go more than 200 feet, that's absolutely what we want to talk about tonight, so.
Yeah, I don't know, my personal opinion is, how many restaurants are in this town right now? One? Two? There's a taco stand in the other place? I mean, I'd like to see more food trucks. I mean, to be honest with you, the more somebody has the money to invest in a business and they provide food that people want to eat, I don't know really why we would get involved in dealing with that. I mean, how many food trucks come into this town? I mean, there's one over there and it's really popular.
When
I don't know about this one down here, but
I personally don't want to eliminate them from town because I know that my son went and picked up food for us at Mario's one night when they were over in the park, and he said he had to wait in line because there was a line by people in front of them, so.
Yeah, it was the one night I went by the parking lot was full, there was not a parking spot there, you couldn't get there. When the food trucks up at O'Brothers, you know, Friday nights, the barbecue truck, they're always busy. He sells out almost every single time he's there.
So I don't want to eliminate them, but we have to be able to, getting back to what you were saying, we have to be able to not let them park so close to a restaurant. And I don't know if you can regulate that they can't be like on city property. I know in Big Lake they couldn't go on any city property to park. Like
Yeah, we can regulate that and then make an exception for you know, festivals and that type of thing.
Yeah.
Because they have to have a permit to be in Montrose, right?
Yeah, and because we didn't have anything, we have our administrative permit, which is $50, but I think that was the other thing I was going to ask you about, Ryan. I didn't really see anything in here about fees, that we would put something in our fee schedule each year.
Yeah, I didn't add that yet,
Yeah.
but that presumably there would be a fee on the license section, so they would have to get their annual fee, and so that would be set. Yeah, we'd have to do that, yeah, along with this ordinance.
And they pay a license fee to MDH, right, to Minnesota Department of Health as it is, every year too, right? When they have a food truck, they have to pay a fee to them.
Yeah.
And then, do we know, like, I know food trucks in other cities, what they charge for?
Yes.
Okay.
That's what I was going to refer to. I had to maintain that program for the city of Big Lake, and in my time that I was there, they had changed their ordinance, and Ryan just interject, but what they did was when I first started, they had to pay a fee every year. They had to bring their certificate of insurance, and they had to bring their, I had to make a copy of their Minnesota Department of Health certificate. So I'd like to see that in the ordinance as well. And then they would pay a set fee, but then they would put money in an escrow. And so every time that they were going to be in town, they had to call me and let me know, and then I would deduct from that escrow. And then if they got to zero in the escrow, I had to call them and say, you have to deposit more money. Well, that got to be quite cumbersome and burdensome, so what they did is they just upped the fee, and it was like $300 for the season to put in, or to be in town. And then they, like Ryan has them here, they could be in town for a certain number of days.
But they cannot come to town when we have Montrose days.
I don't think you can regulate that, you can just regulate them from not being by, because Montrose Days has food trucks. And what they wanted to see, what they talked about at the council meeting on Monday night, is they don't want to charge those food trucks to be at that festival. So that's another thing that the city council wanted to talk about, is that if they have a festival like that, they don't want those food trucks that participate in that festival to be charged.
We can't not permit them, we can't hold them out.
And I don't know if we can do that. I don't know if we can even legally do that, but that was one of the things the council brought up.
What do you legally feed them for the,
If we can say we're not going to charge the food trucks that are at the Montrose Days celebration, what am I trying to say? They don't hire them, but they solicit some food trucks to come for the celebration, and they're there all weekend. And so the city council doesn't want to charge those food trucks that are there for that celebration for that weekend.
yeah, I think we just write an exemption into the ordinance that says the Monticello Days doesn't count towards the,
Montrose Days.
sorry, Montrose. Sorry about that. Yeah, that doesn't count towards the fee.
Okay, okay. And is that okay? I mean, do other communities do something like that, or?
Don't they have to like give a percentage of their income, or is it, I don't know how they did it last year.
Yeah, I think most cities charge for,
Like for Montrose Days, you should have to donate a percentage back to,
And that's what they do,
yeah.
yeah.
So they're basically paying a fee anyway.
Yes,
You're not charging them an upfront fee, you're getting a part of what their sales.
Right.
They don't sell nothing, then, because I knew the one guy that was up there last year, the barbecue guy. He said the one night was terrible, and then the next day they did great.
I think it's a hit and miss with
But
most.
that's kind of their responsibility to take a chance if they're gonna make any money or not, because they could sign up for a day and then it rains, and then it cuts down, but that's not our fault either.
That's why they pay a percentage of their sales. For that special event.
But
We're not saying for if he's sitting out there tomorrow,
No,
but for Montrose Days. It's a charitable organization that's raising money.
yeah,
So you
that's
can't-
why I feel we shouldn't have them during the time that our community people are
The
trying to raise money.
Montrose Days Committee has solicited certain ones to come for Montrose City Days. So the ones that they're soliciting to be a part of Montrose City Days will be exempt from that fee,
Program.
because they're giving money back into the community at the end of the days.
I should say.
Yeah, okay.
It's a fundraiser.
I mean, I don't know,
We should have had somebody from the fire department and the Lions here and. take
they can come to the public hearing. This isn't a public hearing tonight, this is
No,
just
I
to
know what
discuss.
we're talking about.
Yeah.
We should contact them and see what they think, because I can't hardly believe that we would have them here in Montrose.
well, I can't imagine that people, I mean, they know there's a festival going on. I can't imagine somebody's gonna be sitting at Little Brothers with their food truck, knowing what's going on downtown. Because they're not gonna get any business up there anyways, right? I mean, people are gonna be downtown, so. And this year it's gonna be null and void anyways, because Montrose Days is not gonna happen. So it would be for next year. So I think we just have to have an ordinance stating that if you want to be in the city of Montrose for any amount of time, that you have to pay a yearly permit fee. Whatever that permit amount is that we decide on. And supplies with all the paperwork you have from, Minnesota Department of Health and your license and your insurance and everything. And I get where Jackie B's is coming from, I totally get that, but I think the ice cream truck across from Jackie B's is not a bad idea. I mean, that parking lot is perfect, for kids to go get ice cream at, you know what I mean? And people stopping off at 12.
Yeah, as long as they're only selling ice cream.
Right, if they're only selling ice cream, but if it's the ice cream truck, I'm assuming it's only gonna be ice cream.
Well, and I made the argument too when Mario's was there. Truth be told, you go downtown Minneapolis or you go to like Excelsior and you have restaurant next to restaurant and bar next to bar, so.
Yeah, and I hear
Yeah, I mean, doesn't competition make?
competition makes it better,
Like,
right?
better food,
Yeah.
better service if there's competition?
Because it's different food than what's at Jackie B's too.
Yeah,
I mean, I
The
get
problem is you want to keep your established businesses in town
Right.
happy.
right.
Yeah.
So I would say you keep the food trucks away. If they're in town, everybody's gonna know about it.
Right, it's on Facebook everywhere.
The way I looked at it, you should keep your food trucks along Highway 12. Obviously away from fat old guys, which is closed, but you don't want them sitting there either, in case that place ever opened. And when they fill out their permit, I would have them go to the businesses on Highway 12 that they can sit in their parking lot, Because I'm actually working on trying to get one into town myself, it's a printer. And I told her to come up here, get a permit and everything, and she used my parking lot. But I figured I could take Northern Smoke, Mario's, whoever, have them go to these businesses to make sure they can park there and have that listed on their application. If they're anywhere else, you go pick them up.
I just think,
And I think it makes sense that you would have to be on private property, right? You'd have to give permission for someone. Right?
It says
You can't just
something
park on
Yeah,
public
that way we know where they're
Right.
at. We know we have a permit for them to be there. And these businesses that they're sitting at are gonna know if they filled out a permit.
right,
Then it's not all on city to monitor.
right.
And it says in your number 5 on page 32.
You'd be number 4.
Oh, yeah, I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
So it has to be located on private property, and you have to have permission from the property owner.
Is that a state ordinance?
And that's what we did in Big
I
Lake
believe
as well.
That's what other cities have done as well.
So basically, you allow 4 a year, 4 different ones. You know, like the Wright County Fair, you had to get on a waiting list and wait for a vendor to leave before
get
you
in
can bring a new one in. So basically, January 1st, you get your applications in if you want to come to town and run your food truck. And we only allow 4 into the city. Isn't that what that's saying? I mean, granted, that's per private property, the way I see it.
And, I mean, it reads though that in a public park with approval from the city and ice cream trucks are allowed to operate within the public right of way in residential districts. So we're allowing ice cream trucks to be in residential districts, not on private property.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
the only exception.
Right.
The right-of-way thing is you don't want the truck to set up on the shoulder of the road
Right.
and have a line of people across the street.
I'd rather have the ice cream truck in the
We
park,
had the
honestly,
truck.
because then you can have kids go up there and it's safer. You know, instead of stopping in the middle of the street, you know, you got kids running everywhere trying to get to the ice cream truck. If they're in one location at a park somewhere,
So basically,
there's enough parks in town that ice cream truck could go to.
yeah.
You know, doesn't have to be Veterans Park, it could be, you know, out someplace else.
So you want to treat ice cream trucks the same way you treat the food trucks, is what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay.
I don't know, anybody else's opinion?
It
Just you guys
seems
on
to
that?
me that if you're a business and you want to be on public property, then you should get permission from the local city. If you want to be on private property, you should get permission from the private property owner. And that, to me, would be about all the regulations you need other than whatever permit you're talking about.
And I say ice cream trucks should be able to be mobile.
Yeah, they
I
should
mean,
be
that's the
able
way
to
it's been,
control.
that's the way it's been since I've been growing up. You
They
know,
should-
driving down your streets, all the kids come running out of their house and they pulled over the side of the road. You know, as
Can
long as
they be
they're,
both? Can they be mobile or be able to drive?
Yeah, there's nothing that says they can't
Okay.
park. Or I think it actually does say somewhere that they have to keep up that, we can take that out.
I mean, they could come up here, I mean, that'd be, you know,
What was the outfit? that
Can we
was
put
across
both
the
in,
road
or they
that
can
was
even
down
hear
here?
both?
Mario's,
What were they selling?
Italian.
Okay.
They got good trucks. They got good places.
I mean, I think when I was a kid, that, just like Justin said, they come down the residential street and everybody, yeah.
What were they just on the side of the road?
but
Yeah,
I think there should be a local park too, if they want to someplace, in a park someplace. I think that's feasible, you know, to go to park in a park somewhere, to, you know, let kids come out and get ice cream, you know.
Permit, they go find property owners.
Yeah.
So now,
That's.
go ahead.
Right.
Do most cities have this here?
Between two private.
yeah, so the draft ordinance here is a pretty pretty standard ordinance that a lot of other Wright County communities have, or, you know, very similar to this one.
So my question is, if they have 21 days that they can be in town, no more than 21 days, do they still have to check in with the city and say, tell me whenever they're gonna be in town? Or do you just,
Yeah, I guess it doesn't specifically say how that's,
I think that's a little bit of
well, it gets to be burdensome.
micromanaging.
I agree, and I just don't think, I mean,
It gets to be
if you're gonna be
burdensome.
here more than that, I mean, either you're really popular, and everyone loves it, and it's a benefiting the
Yeah,
Benefiting
or
everybody.
you're probably in a small town like this, you're not gonna be able to make a living being here more than
Right.
21 days a year, I don't think, unless.
I would prefer that they didn't have to, because it gets to
if they want to be in town every day, they pay their permit, let them be in town.
Right, well, that's how I feel, why don't we
They're
have
gonna,
a-
they're gonna go to other towns.
Can we
They're not
take
just
the-
gonna come here.
Can we take the days out? We have to limit it.
So
to
just
days.
strike number 5 altogether.
Yeah, that says private properties may host no more than 4 over the course of the year, non-consecutively, and for no more than 21 days at a time. I don't think we need that 21 days in there. Thoughts, everybody?
I'd say take it out.
I'd say take it off.
Okay.
But leave in the, no more than 4 different food trucks throughout the year.
I think 4 food trucks is plenty, I just don't think that we need the 21 days in there. 'Cause I don't think you're gonna find more than 4 that are gonna come on here.
4 per, where does it say that?
It says
So
private
it's
property.
number 5 on.
Private property may host.
Yeah.
I would say the city limits to 4 a season.
Okay,
4 different ones, that's it.
okay.
Otherwise, you're gonna have 100 different ones and you ain't gonna be able to keep track of them.
The first 4.
Yep, you get, in January or whenever they decide to turn in their app, you accept 4 food trucks for the year.
Per,
I don't,
For private
do we want to do that?
First come, first.
The problem is, if you don't limit it to a certain number, you're gonna have 100 different ones, or a food truck is gonna see this one, and they're just gonna roll into town set up.
but I mean, I
They're
think
gonna,
there's a limit to how much.
they're gonna collect their money, roll out of town, and never see them again.
I just think there's a limit to how many people, how many would come in here, because there's only so many people,
Yeah.
and business-wise, it just wouldn't make sense for a bunch of them to be here.
It's not cheap to drive a truck out here from the cities. My cousin used to have a food truck, and that thing got about 2 miles, it literally got about 2 miles to the gallon. And so he rarely came out this way.
I mean,
I think if we got to that point where we had,
More than one.
had them lined up at every business, then we could revisit that. I
Yeah,
just-
but we're doing it now, let's do it.
Yeah,
And
but I just
what,
think
is
right
the
now,
ice cream
there's-
truck one of
I
those
mean,
4?
there's
Or
No,
are they?
ice cream truck is
They're
exempt,
exempt from that.
because they're mobile,
Okay,
they should be roaming around town.
okay, so the ice cream truck is exempt from that 4.
Yep.
Okay,
Because.
Ice cream truck should be a total exemption from, kind of the whole thing,
okay.
is the way I look at
so when you're saying 4, you're saying 4 permits total for the whole
it.
city?
4 for the whole city.
4
per
different
year.
trucks, 4 different food people.
You can, come back next year, January 1st, get your permit in if you want to do it next year. That's how all the state county fairs work. You
State
you
fair,
have to
yeah.
wait till somebody leaves to get in. The state fair, you gotta be relative or something to get into there.
I've worked some of those.
Yeah, I mean, I just don't know if we should be getting involved in a agreement between the two,
It
between
varies.
a private business, you know what I mean?
Cities that have a lot
My
of
brother wants
restaurants
to have somebody on,
typically move them
I mean,
into
I just don't
the
know
trucks
if it's an
more.
issue.
And cities that don't have a lot of restaurants are typically gonna be more permissive with mobile food units is what I've seen.
Okay.
So they allow more?
I'll speak into the microphone here. So from what I've seen is cities that have a lot of brick and mortar restaurants have typically tried to limit mobile food units to protect those mom and pop cafes and stuff. And cities that don't have a lot of restaurants have typically been more permissive with food trucks because there's not a lot of food options. And one of the things we can decide here tonight is which path do we want to go down?
Well, I mean, honestly, I've only ever seen the 2 food trucks here. The barbecue one and Mario's. Has there been other ones? Justin, do you guys know?
I'm working on another food truck to try to get them to come into town.
So that would be 3.
That would be 3.
I've never seen any more. I mean, I don't know that I've seen, well, you see them in Delano when they go to like Lupine Brewery and stuff, but I have not seen them in Buffalo.
And the brewery in Buffalo uses them.
Yeah, I was gonna say the brewery.
Yeah, there's usually one there every day.
But that's about it. I think, well, I know the new stand out at Menards. The food stand that's at Menards. But
Oh,
it's
yeah.
not really a food truck.
Huge COVID-19 store and you go buy cheese curds in their parking lot.
Yep. Go to Menards and buy your cheese curds. Did you know that? There's a huge stand set up in Menards.
Right in the one corner.
They're selling cheese curds and corn dogs, I think, and something else. I saw that they were there like through middle of July, maybe?
Something like that.
Yeah.
I can't tell you the other cities I worked in, they did limit the number, but
They did or didn't?
they did not.
Well, then don't limit the number, and I guess we have to, because it gets crazy. I don't think it will.
I don't think it's gonna get crazy either.
It's up to you guys. You're the planning and zoning commission, but just letting you know that other cities I worked in, they didn't limit.
Well, let's just take a vote of, how many people think we should limit it to 4 trucks? All those in favor say aye.
No more than 4.
Except the ice cream trucks.
Ice cream truck is exempt from this
Okay.
ordinance.
Okay.
Well, we have to put ice cream trucks in here too. They'll also have to pay the fee.
Yeah, but they're exempt from the.
They're exempt from a lot of the rules.
Right.
Yeah.
They're exempt from having to be on private
Or,
property.
right, yeah.
Yeah, they can be where they want to be. They can
Because
be-
we have one that's coming into town and they already paid the administrative fees, so.
Because I remember living in Delano, 10 years old, you hear that siren, you grab a dollar bill and you run out the door. You didn't care if you stole it on Mom's purse or not.
Takes mom's purse with them.
They give more ice cream. So do we not want to limit it then? Do we want to just leave it open and see what happens? I mean, we can revisit.
It's just an arbitrary number, so it doesn't make sense to me, but, and I think what you said about, yeah, I mean, if we had a whole bunch of little businesses at cafes and stuff, but,
We
I
don't.
mean, I think it'd be nice to have, I mean, I don't think we're gonna get many here, to be honest with you, but if we did get a few more, I don't think it'd be a bad thing, as long as they were on private property and, you know, not parking in the restaurant's parking lot.
Not pulling up to the front door of the local
Right,
restaurant.
not selling hamburgers in front of, Jockey's or whatever, you know, I mean, yeah, that makes sense to me.
Doesn't the Ugly Bar have food too? I believe they do.
Yes, they do.
Frozen pizza,
Yeah, they do.
pizza there.
No, they got burgers and stuff too. Oh, yeah. Good old frozen bar burger.
Right. Yeah, so there's.
So we changed the city for city administrators. I don't know if the Oprah
Oh.
parties has some of that.
So consensus is no limit.
No limit.
Somebody want to make a motion?
Food
I
truck.
want to put it on the books. Let's make a motion.
I think he's just gonna keep notes and then put it
Okay.
together and we'll talk about it again at the next meeting. We'll have a public hearing.
Okay.
The other thing that I was gonna ask you about was number 7 on page 33. That they have to do a criminal background. I can tell you that in Big Lake, all of them had to do a criminal, we had to do a criminal background on everyone that was going to be working in the truck. So I had to get the license and make a copy of the driver's license of everyone that was gonna be working in the truck.
For ice cream or food truck?
For food truck.
Don't they do a criminal background to get their licensing?
Yeah,
From the state?
Probably.
Yeah, from Minnesota Department of Health.
I'm pretty sure they have
I
to.
wouldn't be nearly as concerned about a criminal background check for a food truck. I mean, it's not like you're gonna go for a barbecue and they abduct you, but the ice cream truck I can see.
I think that's the idea here, is the mobile food unit has already did their background.
They already done their background check with the
So,
Minnesota Department of
but
Health.
we throw it in for the ice cream truck, because.
Because they don't have to have a department.
Because their kids are coming up.
They don't have to have a Department of Health?
I don't think so, because everything is packaged. I don't know if they have to be.
Yeah, I don't know what the Department of Health would be inspecting.
Yeah, I don't think they would be. It's just a freezer with frozen ice cream. They're not doing safe serve. I don't think they have to do that stuff.
Yeah, because it's
How
all
about
it's all
these,
packaged.
food trucks now with, having bad food or something and people start getting sick, and it's one that we got here in town who's gonna be liable.
That's why
I mean, I just think
we,
if people are getting sick, word will get around and no one will go
They
to
won't
that
go
food
again.
truck and they just.
They'll run out of town.
Just like any restaurant.
that's why they have to provide their certificate of insurance to us.
Because they're inspected by the Minnesota Department of Health. They're regulated by the Minnesota Department of Health with their regulations to get licensed to serve food. So,
Yeah, the company does, but you know, like Cub sells bad hamburger, they're in trouble. You know?
I think that it's their own liability. They have to carry liability insurance anyways. So I think
Yeah, it's
their
just
own
like,
liability.
just like Jack and B's, it's not gonna come back on the city if they serve bad hamburger.
Right.
It goes back to the owner, and
Right.
that's why everybody carries insurance to do business.
Okay, I just question.
No, I understand.
So I do like, since we're on page 33, I do like number H, not allowed to operate between the hours of 10 PM and 8 AM. I think that that's a good thing to shut them down. You know,
They
10
shut down at 10.
At 10. They don't need to be operating at 10 o'clock at night, 11 o'clock at night.
No.
I mean, at least it's in there that states, okay, these are the hours that you can be open, you know, this is quiet time from 10 to 8. I think that that's reasonable. I don't know what anybody else thinks.
You guys have some good ideas.
Anybody else have any more questions related to the food trucks?
I know we talked about extending the 200 feet. Do you want me to go back and do some research on?
Yeah, definitely, I mean, it definitely needs to be more than 200 feet, because technically Mario's would be safe where they're at,
Right.
you know?
Well, either that or in order to be, I mean, I think, is there a way to write it so if you're gonna be on public property, you have to give permission.
It says
Where
that.
you're gonna be on public property. So if they came to us and said, we wanna be in that park over there, we'd say, well, no, you can't be there. Or you have to be on private property. Either way, you gotta get
Number
permission
4
from
has
who
that.
owns it, right? So if the people of the city say you can't be within so it wouldn't necessarily be a amount of feet, it would just be, you have to get permission.
And I mean, technically, the only spot in Montrose this is gonna work is on Highway 12.
Right.
Away from the Ugly Bar and away from Old Fat Guys.
Yeah,
The
well,
bank.
none of our businesses would give anyone permission.
No, exactly, but it can't be right next door to them.
Right.
You know, you got Old Brothers, you go down towards
The
my
bank.
shop,
You have the bank.
you got the bank, you know.
Yeah, but then you got Casey's right there and they sell food.
Yeah, they're not really a restaurant though. I wouldn't worry about Casey's. They're a convenience store.
Yeah, I wouldn't know about cases either. They have the bank and Brothers in that near area down there.
You know, you got Millhausen.
I mean, can you word it so it's just permission from a private
If you look at.
from the private property owner or from the city if you're gonna try and get a city.
Look
property?
on page 32, number 4, and see if that means what you're.
Because what if they wanted to go to the development over here?
The housing development?
Yeah.
Mobile food units can't go
Because
in.
isn't there a park over there?
That's public.
Yeah, that's basically that
Oh,
looks
yeah.
like it's right.
That's public land.
So I would say that, sort of is
There's-
200 feet thing would be redundant there.
Oh, it does say maybe
Because if you
located
need
in
it
the
from the city,
There's no other food.
maybe located in a
So they could
public
go
park
out
with
there.
approval from the
Yeah,
city.
you could go there.
So 200 feet would be kind of redundant.
They could go
Well,
out
the
to
200 feet is so you don't set up right next door to an existing restaurant, and then you say, well, I'm not on the restaurant's property, I'm on
Regional there?
the neighbor's property, which is
No.
maybe only 50 feet away.
Yeah.
Next one.
There's no roads.
We gotta have something so they're not.
There are no roads built out there.
I know our buddies by Jackson, yeah. I saw, the first time I saw that, I was like,
Highway 12 is.
Mario, as a business owner, then wouldn't he be smarter than that too? Because I understand competition is good, but I'd be pretty upset if a mobile repair shop set up and Dollar General parking lot fixing semis, it wouldn't go over. So for Mario to be sitting there, I think it's 3-4 times now he's done it. If I was running, I'd be up here every day knocking on the door. I don't think it's right.
I can't believe he doesn't have sense enough to realize that.
That's what I just said. Mario himself should be
But
smarter than
did that Mario get?
Mario
from the
owns-
city? Or we didn't have any kind of a
We
ordinance?
could. We
Yeah,
could
but
regulate.
with this, if this was in there, then you could say, well, you didn't get
Yep.
permission to be in that.
That's
place.
why I wanted to do it, that's why I wanted to do it ASAP.
Look
Yeah,
at,
But so wouldn't, in that case, wouldn't the city be able to say, well, these are the places you can go? This is the places we will give you permission, and that would not be one of them?
Yep.
I mean, because I guarantee you, if a food truck like set up at Mario's in Watertown, because he's got a restaurant too, storefront, he'd be very upset. So somehow we have to regulate that to keep them away from the brick and mortar buildings that we have.
And that does that. I mean, that number 4 does that.
Yeah, but just
Well,
to
it
say
says
that
public parks.
Oh, yeah, you have to talk about that.
So we might just have to change that wording to a specific agreed upon public location, or something like that.
Well, they'd have to ask permission to be.
I think maybe MFUs may be located in a on public property with approval for a specific location from the city, or something like that.
Well, it says they
Well-
may be located in a public park with approval from the city.
So as long as nobody ever approves it, then,
Wait, when they get their permit, they have to tell us where they want to be, and then we have to approve or
Yeah, and you
deny
say,
it.
well, here's where you can be, here's where you can't
Right.
be over there.
Right.
Yeah,
That, I think that covers that, but where was the 200 feet again in here?
It's not
Oh,
33.
33F.
So you're saying, Justin, maybe make
a
that
city
number
block,
higher?
like a city block. You know, be at least a city block away.
Okay,
So if they wanna set up a Chapman's building, he's a city block away from Jackie B's. You know what I'm saying? At least there's distance there, it'll keep Brian happy. You lose Brian, you're losing how much tax money. You know what I'm saying? And then you got another empty building in town. So we gotta keep the people that are happy that are here, paying their taxes. So I'd say at least a city block.
and Brian, is there any state statutes that regulate that, or can we pick a number?
We can pick a number,
Okay,
yeah.
okay,
Yeah, there wouldn't be anything in the statutes
okay.
that regulates that. Because the Department of Health is just concerned about food safety, they're not
Okay.
doing the zoning that we're doing.
You know, and getting back to the ice cream trucks, I had a gal that ran an ice cream truck and she did very well in Big Lake. She ended up buying another truck, but she did bring me in her Department of Health and her certificate of insurance.
Oh, so they do have departments?
Yeah.
Okay.
She did bring those in when she signed
I
up.
suppose they're serving food.
Yeah,
Because I mean, you could have the food truck where they're just dipping ice cream too, you know.
Yeah, that is true. Yep.
Gallon buckets.
Yeah, okay.
So, you know, what's the scoop in Buffalo has their own ice cream truck.
They do? That's not great, it's coming to Montrose. I don't
Um,
know if they're Buffalo.
He goes to like a bunch of events and stuff. He does grad parties and weddings and birthday parties and hockey tournaments and soccer tournaments and
that might be who wants to come here.
Brady Elsa.
Now that you say that,
What's the scoop?
Yeah.
Brady Elsa Peter.
I think that's who wants to come
Brady and
here.
Amanda. That's who owns it.
They're very nice people.
They're very nice. They, yep, and
They
that,
got awful good ice cream too.
and they scoop it, so it wouldn't, he'd have to have.
You'd have to, yeah.
Because they scoop it out of containers. So that's probably who it is.
Well, I'm excited about this. You guys have some good ideas. Because I want to get going on it.
But really, a block isn't that very many feet. I think we should go at least a minimum of two blocks.
In a town this size, though, that might be getting.
But I mean, isn't from that stoplight to Clementa, isn't that a block? I mean, I don't know what you call it.
Basically, this intersection to that one, you can see out the window here.
Is a
The
block.
problem is that distance changes depending on where.
True, so let's find the most common block and put a number on it. If it's 2,000 feet, 3,000 feet,
Put a mile.
that's too far.
A mile is.
A mile, that's 5,000 some feet.
Yeah, a mile would be.
Then do half a mile. That's,
Montrose.
Maybe a quarter.
Big.
But a block isn't very much either. Some people go to restaurants, you gotta park 5 or 6 blocks away.
I think we should do a minimum of 2 blocks.
what do other cities?
Yeah, but wouldn't 2 blocks, wouldn't that eliminate the barbecue over there at the bar, or at the liquor store? I mean, 2 blocks from
If you go cross country, you might be 2 blocks from him to
Brad's
JB's.
house, and they're violating, even though they're not open or whatever.
Or even Casey's. The Old Brothers one is right there by Casey's, so.
I think the blocks enough.
How many feet are in a block?
Well, that's what I was saying, is that
Not
that number
very
changes
many
depending on what
this
block
time.
you're measuring in the city.
Roughly 17 blocks per mile is the common city size. I just got out to a Google sheet.
So what's 5,000, how many feet in a mile? Divide that by 17, I don't know. What do you get?
5,000.
200, go back to 200 roughly.
Making us do math.
I mean, wouldn't it be easier just to say you have to get permission from the
294
property
feet.
owner or from the city?
US city standard blocks are as wide as 660 feet. So I'd say 500 feet.
Okay,
That's gonna keep them out of the park,
okay.
500 feet.
away from
Okay, what will that do, like, to Old Brothers and Casey's there?
This should be fine.
Casey's isn't a restaurant, right?
Casey's isn't a restaurant.
Yeah.
No matter what, you'd be fine because you have the Volkswagen dealer in between.
And the bank,
Yep,
The bank, yeah, the bank, Volkswagen, it's easy fine.
yeah,
Yep.
they're not right next door to each other. You couldn't allow one like at the old Casey's building, because that would be right next to Taco Place.
Oh, the other question too, what about that Randy sanitation garbage can at the city park? Who's paying that when Mario's up there? Because it gets filled up with Mario's trash.
he has something, you have something in here about,
Yeah, the ordinance does say that they have to clean up after themselves.
Because there's a garbage can under that pavilion or whatever, where all the picnic tables are. And I stopped the next day after Mario was there, and it was all empty boxes from Mario's.
Yep.
So us city members are paying for that.
So if you go to page 32, number 6A, it's trash and recycling collection and cleanup must be provided.
So he needs to bring his own garbage can.
Well, that'll solve that problem too, if he can't get the park, he won't be able to.
Oh, yeah, exactly, there's not gonna be a garbage can.
But yeah, they should deal with their own garbage.
Yeah, I can make that more specific to say.
And I mean, I'm sure he had his own garbage cans, but that one was there, so it got filled up.
Yeah.
So the city paid to empty it.
So we're not like, whatever we're putting in here, like, let's say a homeowner wanted to have or a group, a neighborhood wanted to have a block party and have a food truck sit at the end of a cul-de-sac. They would just need permission from the city, right?
Well, right now it says they can go out to city park with permission. We could change that to say city property.
but in order for them to be in town, they would have to pay a fee.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how much is that fee?
We haven't said that.
Well, we have to set that.
Okay.
I'll do some checking with other cities. I, off the top of my head, I want to say that Big Lakes for this season, for the year, was $300.
Okay. They're a lot bigger town than we are too. So
Right, that seems like a lot.
it seems like $50 or something.
That's what I was thinking.
It was
Just enough where they'd have to come in and pay something.
Right, just enough to bring their paperwork in and fill it out and.
And that 500 feet, is that from their property or from the building?
from the building, I think is the way it's,
Well, from Brian's building, Jackie B's to the city park, you're gonna burn up 500 feet real fast. So I'd have to say we'd have to do the property. That would keep them out of that city park.
Yeah, right.
Because if you went to Brian's building and strung a tape measure, you'd barely hit the park and you'd have to be at 500 feet.
Right,
So I think we need to say the
property line.
500 feet from property line.
Yes. Because then it'd be fine.
From property line to mobile food unit.
Correct.
Okay.
And who's gonna police all this stuff?
Yeah.
Yep.
Lloyd, don't you tell me?
Yeah, but you're not gonna be around at 6, 7.
They'll have to tell me where they're gonna be.
Yeah.
They're
I
gonna
mean, we don't have to police it, but if we get a complaint,
Then we know.
then we can look back and kind of monitor it and see what's going on.
It'll be like any other code enforcement issue. If we get a complaint, we follow up on it.
And you will, and if
Yeah.
somebody will complain, it'll be all over social media and we'll all hear about it.
I seen this information on this packet and I knew exactly what happened.
I do too.
I knew right away. I said, Brian, call, which I would've. If it was me, I would've called.
And I don't blame him. You know, he has a right, you know, he's been there a while and he's established and he has a right to complain. You know, I understand that. You know. But we also want to encourage other businesses to come into town too. Because, you know, maybe carpentry contractors one day wants to have a food truck. You know what I mean? To feed all of their employees. I mean, our company did that last summer. Food truck came in and, you know, they serve food to everybody. You know, so then they don't have to cater it in.
Yeah, and I guess I don't know that they've had a food truck up there wanted to, but I know they do a lot of catering up there.
At the carpentry. So, I mean, that would be an option for them too, you know?
That's why I don't want to limit to 4 because
Right.
we're gonna.
If these businesses want to bring them in, then.
I think the market limits it. There's just
Yeah.
not that many people here that are gonna eat from food trucks.
Right.
It's just the reality.
There's not gonna be that many that are gonna come into town and do it anyways. So yes, Ryan, will you draft up all those wonderful ideas we gave you?
Sure.
And then next month we can have a public hearing.
Yep. And then I'll check on the fees, and the only reason why I'll do that, I'll check with other cities, is because State statute allows you to charge a fee according to what it's gonna cost for staff time, and I do think $50 is not gonna be enough to cover staff time.
Maybe 100.
So, we'll talk about that at the next meeting, some more too, after I do some research.
Ryan, do you have any more city planner updates?
The only thing I have is we will have a public hearing next month for a planning and development amendment up at Forest Creek. So there's 10 lots up there that are currently platted as townhomes, and they're proposing to do detached kind of townhome units up there. So they're going to be coming in with a PUD amendment from the original approval from 2016. So that'll be next month, and then we'll also have more food truck talk.
Deb, do you have any updates?
I do not. We did meet with the engineer today, and they asked about the preserve, and I told them that they're still checking on trying to hire someone to test the water system out there. So they're not totally done with it, but.
Yeah, they're not totally done with it, but it's also not moving very quickly either. And then the virus stuff happened, so I assume that it wasn't a priority for them.
I got a question about city sidewalk clearance. Who regulates that? As in-
City sidewalk, but
Clearance, as in trees, vehicles blocking sidewalks?
I would have to look at the nuisance ordinance and also the property maintenance ordinance, but typically the property owner is required to maintain that area, trim branches, mow the boulevard, that kind of stuff.
Can we look into that? Because I know on the corner of 7th and Emerson, you can't, a little kid can barely pass that sidewalk.
And that's private property there.
Correct.
Yeah.
And then Aspen Lane, across from Loveland Circle, I believe that's a chunk of city property there where that pond is. Those trees are starting to get pretty low.
If it's a city.
I'm guessing that piece is a city.
Yeah.
But I'm just, in general, our sidewalks, you walk down, there's overhanging trees and, some have vehicles on them. We need to address that too.
and we do go around and look for those vehicles that are parked across the sidewalk, and we do cite them. They are.
I wish we could say all these vehicles that are parked in the road in the summertime. Have you driven down Mindy Lane lately? You can get one car down that road.
Yeah, we did the other
There's so
day.
many people from the condos that are parked in the street, it is pathetic. You cannot, there is no parking over by the condos on Mindy Lane. That whole front of that condos is nothing but cars in front of that
On the
condo.
west side,
Right in front of them. It's terrible. That whole entire, there is so many vehicles parked in the street on that road that you basically can get one car down the street. 'cause
Then you
there's
got
so
the
many-
one-way parking. You gotta park on one side of
Yeah,
the road.
that's the solution.
They are, and that's the problem, is they are parked all along in front of the condos there, right on Mindy Lane.
They have a parking lot, so I don't get that.
I don't either, but there's so many vehicles. We couldn't even put our truck and boat in the driveway the other day because we couldn't get enough space in the street to back it in. Because there were so many cars in the street.
Better get better backing skills.
Have you seen the boat that my neighbor had? You need to drive down my street, Justin. You should see the boat that my neighbor has in his yard that you can't see around. It's
Where do you
like
live on Mindy Lane?
across from the condos.
Unfortunately, right now, we can't do anything because they're.
I know there's no regulations, but I don't know why those people from the condos are parking in the street now and not in their parking lot. But they fill up the whole entire front.
Oh, yeah, that's
of the
bad.
condos. It's bad. And there's kids in and out of those cars all the time running up and down that street. Somebody's gonna get hit, honestly. Because we don't have, we don't have parking regulations in the summertime.
Okay.
but there are some signs up that say no parking, but people are parking
But they
there.
can park there in the summertime. We don't have parking regulations in the summertime, we only have it in the wintertime.
Even along Highway 12? I don't think so.
Or they parked on Highway 12 too?
Sure. On the lawn, up the hill.
We do code enforcement on the ones that are parked on the lawn. We do code enforcement on the ones that are parked on the lawn, they can't do that.
So I don't know why the parking situation at the condos is so bad that they can't get all their vehicles in that parking lot.
Maybe they have 4 or 5 people that drive that live in the same apartment or the same.
Baby boomers. Other kids are starting to drive.
No, but still. It's kind of scary when you see all those kids up and down that street running in and out of those cars. Someone's gonna get hurt. That's why I like winter time, so I don't have all those cars on the street.
Move your boat in and out of the driveway in the winter.
Yeah, my husband was not happy when literally like, there was 3 trucks parked right in front of our driveway. We couldn't even get the boat, he parked in the street for the night, so you couldn't even get it in the driveway because there was 3 trucks parked in front of our house. We don't even know who they were. Yeah. I don't know it. All right, any other further business to come before this planning and zoning commission meeting? Hearing none, I will call for a motion for adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second it.
All those in favor of adjourning this meeting, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries, meeting adjourned at 7:55.
How do you stop there?
It's the button to the far left. Not the one on the top, the one
Where?
on the far left. No,